because he was basically criticizing, he seemed to be basically criticizing.
He didn't deal with the issue raised.
He didn't deal with the issue.
Yes, and I have I think we have a problem with that because the issue raised was the question of the body cameras, which you see on the TV now with all these Black Lives Matter protests with the police in all the other countries and so on.
Right.
And the commissioner had promised that we would have that because we have had a number of incidents here where a number of communities have criticized the police for carrying out executions, right? And the idea behind the body camera, in fact, the commissioner himself was one who had promoted that could help solve the problem, right? And that there was supposed to be a rollout. We have been hearing about that for some time now, but nothing has happened. And these incidents continue to happen, right? So the one they had in Parliament recently, the members of the community did reach out to the MSJ, right? As many communities do, because the MSJ is one of the organizations that are fighting, on their behalf. And they provided a number of documents which the party has, where the person who was killed had gone and reported to the Police Complaints Authority and others about the threats from a police officer to kill him over a piece of land. So the fact that he was killed in this incident, it raises all these questions, which if the commissioner does the right thing and addresses the issue of the body cameras, and that the body cameras were in place, we would all know what really happened. And that is the question that we raised. And he went off on a tangent, right? He was out of timing, as they say. So we have a real problem that as a public official representing the police service of Tobago, that the comments he's making about, he made comments about our manifesto and all of that. What's that about? It was a straight question, where are the body cameras? Right? And his response is totally out of line and ridiculous. So we await a proper response from the Commissioner of Police on this serious issue.
Okay, but if he does not give you all a serious response, either verbally, letter,
well, he is up for review right now. We will be writing the Police Service Commission, right? Because this is not the first incident, right? And recently, one of the newspapers, I believe was in Newsday, had an editorial on him about this same approach that he has to doing his job, which is not something that is in the best interest of the country.
So do you intend to, does the party intend to write the Police Service Commission anytime soon, or?
Yes.
Or are you giving him a little time before you decide to send a letter?
Well, I think we need to write period, right? Because the thing is that from when he started out to now, there have been so many incidents concerning his mannerisms in the public. So it's not something that is just this incident, right? And there's a review at stake right now, and I feel it's responsibility of this party. It stands for social justice for all, to put an argument to the commission.
So what I was saying, so could that be sent up in next week or so, or more time?
You want to press me on that?
Yeah.
Right. Well, we are gonna put it out. I would confidently tell you within the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Can we get everyone?
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's talk about social distance now. Before
yeah.
force you all not to. Sorry, now we were a little bit tighter than we should.
All the masks and everything.
All right. So good morning, members of the media. Today, the 15th of June, 2020. Today is another historic day in the political life of Trinidad and Tobago, because today, for the first time, the Movement for Social Justice is here this morning to announce 4 candidates who will be running in the 2020 general election, with the MSJ running on its own steam, not in any partnership, but on its own steam in the representative politics of Trinidad and Tobago. So this is a momentous occasion for the Movement for Social Justice. And we are here this morning to announce 4 candidates who will be running in different districts to be in the government, well, in the parliament of Trinidad and Tobago. So, without much further ado, I want to say that a screening exercise took place over the weekend on Saturday, and we are pleased to announce the following candidates who, in turn, I would ask to say a few words to Trinidad and Tobago and through the media here today. So, the first candidate I would like to introduce is Renee St. Rose, who will be representing the Movement for Social Justice, the MSJ, in the Diego Martin Central constituency. Renee St. Rose.
Pleasant good morning to all present. Pleasant good morning to our political leader, Mr. David Abdulah, and to all my comrades. I am Renee St. Rose, a daughter of the Diego Martin soil. I am also a post lady, and due to my duties, I've been afforded the opportunity to see the neglects in some of these communities in the Diego Martin area. I've also had the privilege to speak with people on the ground, and I've heard their cries. So I have decided to accept this challenge to be the representative under the umbrella of the Movement for Social Justice to represent the people of the Diego Martin Central constituency. Thank you.
Okay, so that's one down. The next person I'd like to introduce is Ernesto Kiza. Ernesto Kiza is going to be the MSJ's representative for the constituency of Point Fortin. Ernesto Kiza, give us a few words.
Thank you, Brother Chairman, to my political leader, Brother Abdulah, and to my colleagues who have joined this historic moment in the MSJ. Thank you, and thank you to the members of the media for coming out this morning. I am Ernesto Kiza. I have accepted the challenge to run for the constituency of Point Fortin for the Movement for Social Justice in the upcoming general elections. Brothers and sisters, it is going to be, as a cliche statement, the mother of all battles. We are entering the election, the general election, for the very first time. And as many of our civil rights leaders of the worldwide, many of our social activists and persons who are engaged in many battles all over the world, there is something called the power of one. And that power of this party to be the deciding factor in the general elections, it is on that basis that this party, we are going to surprise Trinidad and Tobago. I thank Almighty God as I continue to be a devout and devout follower of my faith. And by faith, we move mountains. Thank you very much, Trinidad and Tobago, and MSJ all the way. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ernesto. The third person I want to introduce this morning, who is going to be representing the MSJ in the general elections, is Radhika Golbans, who is going to be representing MSJ for the constituency of Faizabad. Radhika.
Good morning all, to my political leader and my chairman, my comrades here. It is indeed historic for MSJ to be fighting this general election. And for me, it is very much a historical moment going into Faizabad. Faizabad is not no easy constituency. It is a revolutionary constituency. And I am sure that the people in Faizabad want change. Right now, this world is experiencing a lot of change, a revolution of the mind, as my political leader is saying. And we are going to do that in Faizabad. It started years ago with Butler. He made history. He put Faizabad on the map. And then again in 2010, the people of this country put Faizabad on the map, signing the accord under the People Partnership. And I am sure that with the movement of social justice, we are going to create history again in Faizabad in this election. For movement of social justice, all the way. Thank you.
Right. So thank you, Radhika. Radhika is also the deputy political leader of the MSJ. Right, so we should know that. And the last person I want to introduce as a candidate for the MSJ this morning is the political leader of the MSJ, Mr. David Abdulah. And he will be running for the constituency of Point-a-Pierre. Right, so I would like to introduce Mr. Abdulah, the political leader, to say a few words as representative of the MSJ for the Point-a-Pierre constituency.
Thank you very much, Gregory, our party chair, deputy political leader, Radical Goldbans, our elections officer, Brother Ernesto Kiza, and Sister Renee St. Rose, who is one of our very strong activists. And members of the media, very good morning. Thank you for coming out here to our party headquarters this morning. Our first press conference since the COVID lockdown physically. We have been doing the virtual Zoom press conferences. I'd like to thank you for a number of you who joined in on those press conferences when we had them from time to time. As the chair indicated, this is in fact a historical moment. And I just want to say a few words about my colleagues who will be contesting. Renee St. Rose introduced herself as a postal worker. She's a member of the Postal Workers Union, executive member of the Postal Workers Union, and contested in the local government elections for the MSJ in one of the local government electoral districts in the Diego Martin Regional Corporation. And so she wet her feet, so to speak, in electoral politics in last November's election, and from that time to now has consistently been active in the Diego Martin community. During this period of lockdown, when many people were out of a job, people were going hungry and so on, Renee was able to reach out to them and provide some support for some of the persons in her community. She's also very active in her church. She's a mother and a very dedicated and hardworking individual. And so we commend her as the MSJ's leadership. We commend her to the constituents of Diego Martin Central as someone who would be an excellent representative, an excellent member of parliament seeking the interests of the people of Diego Martin Central. Because the reality is that for the last 5 years, for sure, Diego Martin Central has had no representation whatsoever. The PNM MP, Mr. Darrell Smith, failed the constituents of Diego Martin Central. And so we are saying as MSJ to the people of Diego Martin Central that you need proper representation now as an MP and in the parliament and so on. And Renee St. Rose is that person. She will be with you day and night seeking your interests. Ernesto Kiza is a son of the soil of Point Fortin, born, has grown up in Point Fortin. I first met him some years ago when he was a youth activist with a very important youth organization coming out of Point Fortin called the Barcam. And he has maintained his activism. He was president of the Trinidad Youth Council, and therefore has demonstrated leadership capacity and abilities from a young age, and then got active in the Oilfields Workers Trade Union as a worker at the Trinmar Oilfields, became a branch officer of the Oilfields Workers Trade Union, and later on became the president of the Trinmar branch. And when I was the education and research officer of the OWTU, I had the pleasure of seeing him grow in the various training sessions that we would have had in the union, and interacting with him when I was president of Phyton as well in the Trinidad Youth Council. And then Ernesto was a founding member of the MSJ. We know that he contested in 2010 the Labre seat when we were part of the partnership. He was the MSJ's person, one of our 2 candidates in that 2010 elections, and did exceptionally well in Labre. But he's a son of the soil of Point Fortin, and we believe that Point Fortin is a place where he can best represent the MSJ, and he will be the best member of parliament for Point Fortin without a doubt. He's an executive member. He's also an executive member of the Oilfields Workers Trade Union as an executive trustee. So he has a lot of experience in the trade union movement, as a worker in the oil fields, youth activism, in culture and in sport and so on. Ernesto Kiza is going to be the best member of parliament that Point Fortin has ever had. And he resides in the community of Point Fortin, which is also very important, because over the years, there have been many people representing Point Fortin who may have been born there, but who have lived outside of Point Fortin. Now Point can say that they have one of their own living in Point Fortin to represent Point Fortin. Radical Golbans is the deputy political leader of the MSJ. She hails originally from Santa Flora, but went to school at Irie, and so is very familiar with that part of the country, has worked in Faizabad area and so on, and knows the Faizabad community and many people in that community. Radhika has worked in various positions in the education sector, in the social services sector and so on, and has interacted and helped many people over the years. And she has been in the MSJ shortly after our inception. She became a member of the MSJ, became an executive officer first as our social services officer, and then as our deputy political leader, and has played a central role in the development of our party. She's very much a people-centered person, and certainly the people of Faizabad need a person like Radical Golbans. And as she said, the people of Faizabad have to recognize the historical significance of Faizabad to this country, because without June 19th, 1937, without Faizabad, we would not have become independent, we would not have had trade unions, we would not have a whole range of social reforms in terms of education and healthcare and so many things like that, that emerged out of the struggles of June 19th, 1937. And so, as a political party, we knew that one of the seats that we had to contest was the Faizabad seat, because of the importance of Faizabad to the psyche, to the consciousness of this country. Pointe-à-Pierre is the seat that the party has asked me to contest. And let me just say, I'm not a member of the screening committee of the MSJ. We are the only political party where the political leader is not a member of the screening committee. So you see all the bacchanal going on in the PNM about Lee Hunt and Rowley and Labre and so on. We have none of those issues because the political leader does not sit on the screening committee. And I was screened by the screening committee, of which I'm not a member. And so the party has asked me to contest the Pointe-à-Pierre seat for a number of important reasons. Of course, we contested a number of local government seats last year, and some of which are part of the Pointe-à-Pierre constituency. But when we say Pointe-à-Pierre, we are talking about, in the consciousness of this country, the refinery at Pointe-à-Pierre. And that refinery was closed down in 2018 and has remained closed from then to now. And so we are saying, as the MSJ, that defended the union and the workers in that struggle to keep the refinery open and to save the jobs of the petrotrain workers. We are saying and have said that the union's company, Patriotic, is the best and only solution for the reopening of the Pointe-à-Pierre refinery. And so we believe that the MSJ should contest Pointe-à-Pierre so that the people of the Pointe-à-Pierre constituency can see our position of defense of workers, defense of businesses that have gone bust or suffering because of that closure of that refinery, in defense of the national interest. We are saying that the MSJ represents the people of Pointe-à-Pierre in a fundamentally different way that either the UNC or the PNM can offer. Because we were the ones that stood with the workers, with the business community, with the union over that whole issue. None of the other parties did. Of course, the PNM as government closed it down, and the UNC waffled on that question and still waffle on that question. Only the MSJ has taken a principled, consistent position in defense of not just the refinery of Pointe-à-Pierre, but the constituents of Pointe-à-Pierre by extension, and that is why I am going to be MSJ's standard bearer for the 2020 general elections in the constituency of Pointe-à-Pierre. I will just make one other short statement, and then of course we are open to questions as always from members of the media. Some people may wonder, why haven't we announced today 41 candidates? Because last year, very early this year, we did say we were planning to contest all those seats. We have decided to be very strategic in this election, and therefore MSJ candidates being elected to the parliament can very well and will in fact fundamentally change the politics of Trinidad and Tobago. The country has been trying to change governance, trying to change the politics by voting out one party and having another party come in. But that has never worked. So over the years, from 1986, when the PNM was voted out and the NER came in, and then 1991, NER was voted out, PNM came back in, 1995, PNM was voted out, and so on. And we've had that changing around. 2010, PNM got voted out. 2015, UNC got voted out. So that has been happening. But those two parties, PNM and UNC, have remained in the parliament in a system of winner-take-all. And therefore, there have been no effective checks and balances on whoever forms the government. And the people of the country have been saying that this is not good, that you put power in the hands of UNC or you put the power in the hands of PNM, and they make a mess of things. They do nonsense, corruption, mismanagement, no reforms, things that were promised, labor legislation reform, local government reform, constitution reform, Tobago autonomy reform. None of those things happen. Crime and violence, economic diversification, none of those things. People are suffering in the country. People are unemployed. People are going hungry. Communities are marginalized. Young people have no sense of hope in the future. And so, whether you put PNM or UNC, those things have remained the same. We are saying that with the MSJ in the parliament, with our candidates in the parliament, then we will make the difference and ensure that the right things get done by a government, because no government would be able to function without the support of the MSJ, and we will only provide support on the basis that they do the right things and implement the right policies and so on. And therefore, in that strategic way, we will make a fundamental difference and break the mold and change the culture, the political culture of Trinidad and Tobago. And that is why we have determined that we are going with these candidates. We may, of course, add some more, but we are starting off with 4 excellent, if I may say so myself, representatives of the MSJ to contest the various seats that have been identified. So I'm going to stop there, and then, and as Sister Radical Korban said, that at the start of this year, the New Year's message, if you go back and check the New Year's message, if you go back and check the New Year's statement that I issued on behalf of the MSJ in January, 1st of January of this year, I said and declared that 2020 is the year of the revolution of the mind. And look what has happened in the space of a few months. The first 5 months of this year, we have had a COVID-19 pandemic that swept the world and has caused so much to change, that required a whole revolution of the mind, including that we have to give people a bounce and physically distance and all kind of stuff like that. And secondly, you have had the Black Lives Matter movement, which has now become global almost, and not just around the killing of George Floyd, but also around issues of the statues that were honoring slave masters and people who were racist and so on all over the world. So there has in fact been this year a revolution of the mind, and that is going to come to Trinidad and Tobago in General elections 2020. We are going to begin to break the old culture of race politics and believing that it can only be PNM and UNC when myself and my colleagues get elected to the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you, and we are open to questions.
Thank you very much, Brother Abdulah. As the chairman of the MSJ, I can say that the party is 150% behind these candidates. We had a meeting of our General Council yesterday, and all the candidates received resounding support from the General Council. So the MSJ is going into this battle totally united, and we are going to put our best foot forward and ensure that we make a difference to the future of Trinidad and Tobago. Questions?
Yeah. Could you all give us an idea? Okay, we've selected 4 candidates right now. If you give us an idea of how many other candidates you're looking to add to that state, or which other constituencies? Because you say you're doing strategic. So which could you say how many, we have a fixed number of other candidates you're looking at, or any specific other seats that you're looking to take up?
At this point, what we're prepared to disclose is what we have disclosed, which is that we have 4 candidates running strategically for the MSJ. You see, we not of the view at this time that for us to make the difference in the parliament, we need to have 41 seats. We are saying at this time, given all what the COVID-19 did to the whole situation and so on, we are saying that we are going to be the balance wheel in the parliament. right? So that if it is that the government, whichever side forms the government, wants to pass legislation, they would need the support of the MSJ in the parliament to do that, because they will not have enough seats on their own. So strategically, the movement for social justice will become the deciding factor of what happens in Trinidad and Tobago. And we are saying that we will only support policies, laws, reforms that are in the broad general interest of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And that is why we are saying that our intervention is strategic. So at this time, we're not that focused on saying that we're going to be fighting many other seats. Our focus is to ensure that at least these 4 persons get into the parliament so that we can be that balance wheel. We can be the ones who make the difference between what becomes law, what becomes policy in Trinidad and Tobago.
Right. But when you're talking about balance, and let's say we reach a situation whereby all 4 of the candidates here are in, plus whoever else, and you are in a situation where one of the other parties is short of a majority, and they come to you asking for a coalition arrangement, would you all be willing to enter into a coalition arrangement with another party to form the government? Seeing that historically coalitions have failed in this country.
Well, I think the person best could answer that is the political leader, right? But what I can say is that our position is to lend support, not to be part of any coalition.
Can you give us an idea of what the membership of the MSJ is currently and how much it has grown over the past couple of months with the mobilization that you all have been doing?
Yeah, well, we at this time we have several thousand members, right? I can't give you an exact figure, but the party has grown. We have been, doing consistent work. You can see that from, the impact we have had on the public and the media and so on. The voice of the MSJ has become a very important voice in Trinidad and Tobago, right? People don't check for what the COP or others have to say. They check outside of the 2 main parties for what the MSJ has to say, because the MSJ has consistently been pronouncing on all the issues in the country. We don't see ourselves as a party just for general elections. We see ourselves as a party to effect change. And that's why we talk about the revolution of the mind, and the time of the MSJ is coming, because the world is changing and we have to break and try to Tobago the race politics. And the time of the MSJ will come. I mean, if we look at what happened in the US with the Black Lives Matters issue, right? They have been around for some time, but what has happened is that conditions in the USA has changed so that a movement has grown around what they represent. The MSJ in the same way in Trinidad and Tobago represents social justice for all. And that issue is an unresolved issue in Trinidad and Tobago. And we feel that the time of the MSJ is fast approaching. And that is why we have decided as well to put ourselves up for election. So we feel that the MSJ and the MSJ's time is fast approaching. And we intend to make sure on the campaign trail that we raise all the pertinent issues that Trinidad and Tobago has to address, and to make sure that the people of Trinidad and Tobago see the future leadership of this country in the movement for social justice. We are the only party who have actually presented a plan, an economic plan, right, as a party to deal with the post-COVID situation and to deal with the future of Trinidad and Tobago. We did that. We sent that into the Prime Minister's Committee. The PNM or the UNC has not presented any such document. Right? The MSJ is a serious party about dealing with the serious issues that the country faces.
Given that we are looking at the election possibly happening somewhere between September and December, at what stage do you think you all want to be at? Where will you all be at? Where are you all at in terms of your preparations in terms of whenever it calls, whenever the date? Are you all behind, on track for whenever?
Well, we have started. We are not waiting on an election day. We have started. We are also, bringing issues to the public. Tonight we have Black Lives Matter webinar on Zoom. We are expecting thousands of persons from Trinidad and Tobago to be in attendance. We're dealing with the issues, right? We're dealing with all the issues. We're not waiting to start a campaign. There are issues out there, and the MSJ is wetting its feet immediately, right? These persons here who are going to be representing us in the different constituencies, they are starting this week in pursuing those objectives. So we are not waiting on a date.
I don't know if I can get Mr. Keza to just comment on something. His views on the migrant situation in what you're hoping to be your constituency. We're constantly seeing the Council of Procedures asking that help be given to migrants. We've seen so that falls within your time frame. They're saying we're giving an extension, the government that is, but no resources come to help migrants, and they continue to live under, substandard conditions. What are your views on the migrant situations, and will you be, bringing some argument as it relates to them?
Sure, thanks very much, Ms. Cindy. First of all, the situation with our brothers and sisters of Venezuela continues to be a very complex situation. What is happening in Cedars, based on my knowledge, is a combination of, one, us not being able to police and protect our borders properly, and two, the issue of the whole policy position of the current administration as relates to our brothers and sisters of Venezuela. I'm not going to get into politics of it at this point in time, simply because I don't know on what basis on which the Councillor for Cedars, and I know the Councillor for Cedars quite well, who still worked with me back in Trinidad at that point in time. And I'm not going to get into the reasons of where I feel he's pushing it, but definitely there are some humanitarian issues from what I understand in Cedars that needs to be addressed. But as I said, the policy position of our current administration, where there is a difference between refugee and migrant. We seem to be playing politics with those two terminologies. Those two terminologies have specific connotations, and our government not willing to deal with that in a head-on way is creating part of the problem. However, though, I wish to say that these are human beings, and as human beings, if they have a right to certain services, they have a right to live, they have a right to life. And as a result of that, I think that the relevant authorities have indeed, after doing surveys and investigations for almost a year, then by now we should have had a clear way forward in dealing with this situation. This is the hope of the MSJ. The MSJ has made no secret in terms of how we see the whole situation with our brothers and sisters in Venezuela. And that has nothing to do with whether we support the administration. We are talking about humanity and dealing with the thing from a human perspective. And if we have people in our country who are suffering, then it is the responsibility of the authorities and responsibility of us all to address that, including our own people who might be suffering as a result of unemployment and hardship and so on. Let's face it, brothers and sisters, Trinidad and Tobago is in a very difficult place right now. Not only because of the economic situation. Some of the situations in Trinidad and Tobago have been constructed deliberately, in my opinion, so that we are in this situation now. And I'm saying that the MSJ, once we are placed in office, we'll begin to dismantle those type of constructs, to put proper systems in the interest of the public, of all, to ensure that we protect the people that live in Trinidad and Tobago at all levels. That's as much as I'm about to say at this point in time. Thank you.
I was wondering if you could get Mr. Abdullah's take on the media review and the current management of the COVID situation.
Yeah, sure. As Gregory mentioned a short while ago, we are the only political party that put forward a roadmap document. We launched that virtually, I think it was around the 7th or 8th of May. And send it to the media and so on. And we have sent it out widely to business organizations, to trade unions, to many individuals. It's on our website. And we committed, when we sent out the roadmap, that we would engage in a series of public discussions on the way forward. And the very first one is taking place tomorrow evening. It's a webinar starting at 7:30. And it's going to be a series of 4 webinars on the theme COVID-19, not just recovery, but opportunity for real change. And the first panel tomorrow night, starting at 7:30, will look at the midterm budget review. We will look at the government's document, the MSJ's document, and what other people have proposed. And the sub-theme of tomorrow's webinar is the big picture. And we have as moderator Mr. Hayden Blades, economist and from time to time TV host. We have Dr. Marlene Atz, well-known economist from the University of the West Indies, former member of the Economic Development Advisory Board. She was former chair of the National Productivity Council, former chair of the Cipriani College of Labor and Cooperative Studies Board. And Mr. Neil, who is one of the principals of Fed Mohammed as a businessman to give a business perspective, and myself, both as economists, as political leader at MSJ, to provide the MSJ's view of the opportunity for change. So that's tomorrow night. So Clint, I'm not going to comment today on the post-budget. I'm going to ask you, and I think the media will be sent, Gregory, an invitation to join the webinar so that you can hear what our view is. We think the timing of our webinar is perfect because our document has been out there, the government's document, though never officially released, has been circulating, which is not a transparent thing. It should have been officially laid in Parliament for everyone to have access to via the Parliament website. Ours is up on our website. We did it very transparently. And of course, we have the midterm budget review, so I will hold my comments on the midterm budget review for tomorrow evening's webinar, and I hope the media at 7:30 joins in.
Now, management of the COVID situation. We have 6 new cases now, and your thoughts on that, and how are we opening our economy too fast? Are we possibly opening ourselves up for a second surge?
Okay, so in terms of the health aspect of the COVID-19 pandemic, management of that aspect, we have said quite publicly that the government in general has handled the health aspect well because we were able to ensure that there was no increases in the numbers of persons testing positive for COVID. Now, the 6 persons who tested came in on a cruise ship. So again, those are imported cases. They're being quarantined, and therefore there ought to be no spread from those 6 to any others in the national population, which is the way in which it should happen. In our roadmap for recovery and changing of Trinidad and Tobago, we actually recommended a timetable for opening of the economy, which was perhaps a week faster than the government has done, because we felt that the situation was stable enough, but we said with a proviso, subject to the advice of the healthcare professionals, because none of us are healthcare professionals. But we thought it could have been open. If you look at, we said this in May, we laid out a timetable. Early May, we thought that the economy could have been open probably a week. Looking at our time frame on what the government implemented, we were probably a week ahead of what the government had done. So I don't think at this moment we are in danger of a second wave once the imported cases are isolated and treated, and there's no possibility of them spreading to others. So that is our position on that. We felt, for example, that schools should have been reopened only for exam classes, because the exam classes could spread out in small numbers, 10, in different classrooms and so on to prepare the children for their respective exams. Because we are very concerned that there are children who are going to write exams, the CSET, CAPE, or SCA, who did not have the benefit of good internet or any internet at all, or devices through which they could have gotten the online learning. And so we are very concerned that a number of our nation's children, who are the children of the most disadvantaged, of poor people and so on, that they are going to be further left behind. So there were recommendations we made there, but I would like you to go to our roadmap for recovery, which is on our website, msjtnt.org, and you'll see it, and you could see exactly what we recommended in terms of saving lives, saving livelihoods, sustainable development and sustained growth, and so on, and all the other strategic objectives we identified.
Okay. One other thing I wanted to ask, yesterday I believe it was the party put out a statement regarding an increase in police killings. Maybe, yeah.
Wait, before, because I just have one question for you. Yeah, I don't want to, yeah. You know, your office is in San Fernando, you're not representing at this point San Fernando, but what are your thoughts on the mayor's intention to have a drive-in cinema at Skinner Park, if you will?
Really, I really have not, you know, thought about it. I saw that people are objecting to it and so on. These are things that would require consultation first. You know, whether a decision is good or bad can stand or fall on how decisions get made, the process, and therefore consultation is absolutely necessary. There's reconstruction taking place in Skinner Park, so therefore the space of Skinner Park is more limited to the outside playing field, the one closer to Sapa, which is now used by members of the community who cannot use where the other aspect. So you need to consult with people before decisions get made, and to find out whether that is a priority at this point in time, or whether there are other priorities that ought to come before it. And we have not come up with a formal policy position on it. I simply would say that consultation and involvement of people in decision making is absolutely essential, which is a policy position of the MSJ. And that is what we have to change in this country. And that is why we have to be in the parliament. And that is why we will be in the parliament, because people are fed up of decisions being taken on top and pushed down people's throats. And people want to change in that, and only the MSJ to do that.
Well, it's a private organization. So
yes, but a private organization can't have access to the facility without the city corporation, and therefore it will be the city corporation's responsibility to engage in the consultative process.
Do you think other venues should have been considered as opposed to the green space over there?
The issue has to be about consultation, Cindy, right? There could be other spaces. That is what consultation was throughout. In consultation, somebody may say, well, you could use somewhere else, and so on, and other options could arise, but those things come out of a process of consultation. So I want to focus not on the cinema yes or no, I want to focus on the issue of decision making, right? That is a real problem. That is a real problem. Yeah, that has to be changed. We have to change the way in which decisions get taken in this country. So I don't know if any of the constituencies where MSJ is.